Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today, April 9th of 2021 at approximately 5:30 a.m. PST. As you can see, things have shifted again. Well, in a manner of speaking, I think. But we've got this office, this desk that we're working on is now set up satisfactorily. We did, however, move the one sign, and again, you can't see it, but above us here, we've moved our sign that says, I have legally attained a minimum of $2,000 by April 30th, 2021 at 1 minute to midnight. Below that, Inner Voice Enterprises has legally generated a minimum of $200 by April 30th, 2021 at 1 minute to midnight. Now understand, the $2,000 that I've listed is what it requires to run our household. Okay, bills, the utilities, rent, food, entertainment, all of it. Okay, the one referring to the 200, that is 10% because I'm running a home-based business. That is what I require with the business to make sure it's making money. Okay, so and of course I've moved, and you can just see if you look at the corner of the video, you can just see the edge of the sign right now that says I am worth it. Those are fundamental points, and those are fundamental pieces that are required, are really beneficial to help get things moving in the right direction from an energetic standpoint. Now, I've talked about feng shui before, and like I said, westernized feng shui. Eastern feng shui is fabulous, works like a charm. The only catch to it is the entire society has to be built that way. Because in Western society, you don't get that. Okay, it's very individualistic, but energy still runs the same way. You can guide where it goes. You cannot stop it, but you can guide it. So now that I've got the office desk set up, I've got my little bins up here. Things like one of the jobs that I do happens to be psychic readings. Okay, hence I've got my tarot deck right here. And for those of you that are looking at this and going, well, that's kind of weird. Well, it probably is. But as I've said, my life is more like science fiction than anything else. But much more importantly, most of the flack I get from people that have to do with tarot are people that look at it and say, well, that's evil. Well, they're the same people that say God created everything. And if God created everything, well, frankly, he's the one that built the cards. And if he didn't want me doing it, I'd have something else to do, which I may be working towards. However, the reality of it is this. Whatever you're doing, as long as it's legal, okay, as long as it follows karmic law, and you can stand up and say, proudly go, I did this, then frankly, I cannot control other people's fear or other people's worries. I can only control my own, okay, and my own reactions to said concerns. So, the way feng shui works, okay, when you're organizing things. Now, I've got the office cleared now. I've got about 10 square feet of desk. Part of which is this shelf right here. If I get around to it, okay, or if I decide to go that route, I can put another monitor here, which is where I usually run into trouble, as in lack of screen space. Okay, but I can look at that and debate that all I want. All I choose to debate it. The reality is, I'm the only one that can alter it. Now, you can see this is where I've shifted things again, in a manner of speaking. In this case, I simply shifted the computer. Success has to be something that you personally have got an idea of what success is. To me, this is a great move. Getting this out of the office corner sorted around. Okay, where I can actually function with it. Okay, because it's organized now to the point that I don't have to worry about it. So it runs smoothly. That will make things easier for me. Same thing applies to your office. Wherever you're working on your finances, wherever you're working on whatever, having it organized. You may have yourself working quite nicely. I used to work great living in what amounted to a warehouse. I would know where everything was, I could find everything, but the energy was really scattered. The more focused, the smoother the energy runs, the healthier you're going to feel. Okay, think of it this way. It is said that the state of your house is representative of the state of your mind. It's a reflection of the way your mind is. Now, if that is the case, then it stands to reason that your mind is also a reflection of the state of your home. Whoop. Well, that was quick. This is one of the things I did find with getting energy running smoothly. I can now get interrupted. I know how to put the thing on pause and actually have it work right. Yesterday, when I put it on pause for a moment, I can't even find where. I remembered what time I put it on pause, but apparently it went so smoothly that I couldn't find it again, which is exactly what I was hoping for. Now, the thing with feng shui is this: you cannot control the way energy runs, or you cannot stop it. It's kind of like stopping water. Water, you can freeze it solid and it will still move forward. Energy goes where energy will, unless you guide it. Okay, and it's up to you to decide how you're going to guide it. So, with that in mind, what we've got going on at this point is we're getting the energy running in the right direction. There's still some changes to make, but that's okay. But the only person on the planet that can make it happen for you is you. You can talk to everybody about all the different techniques. You can talk to everybody you choose to about all the different possibilities. But the reality is, when you find one that you're happy with, you're the one that's going to have to make the move. You're the one that's going to have to get up and initiate the changes. Now, you can get somebody to help you, especially where reorganizing comes in. Okay, but here's the long-range game plan on that. I'm changing what's going on around my life. That will directly, and you don't have to believe me on this one, try it yourself. Okay, experience it yourself. By getting the energy running properly in my house, it will directly affect the way that I end up behaving around other people and working with other people, because it will make things easier to cope with to start with. So the added stresses that other people are going through, they don't necessarily impact on me in the same fashion. Okay, net result, I affect the people around me, they affect the people around them. It's an ever-growing circle, and the idea here is real simple. The less stress that's going on, the better society runs. And that's just the reality behind it. Okay, when we talk about, people trying to force change, okay, wars don't work for peace. They work for quiet, but they don't work for peace. Okay, so, I'm looking at a lot of things. Now, this is one of the things I decided I was going to do. You see, 2 years ago, I had a stroke. Okay, to the point I couldn't walk and I couldn't talk. That said, my left arm still doesn't have the reaction time and fine motor control that it used to have. So, I now have things set up. My coffee's over there because it forces me, well, it doesn't force me, but it encourages me to use my left hand to get to my coffee. Okay, with 2 desks here, I can now start working on things like, on this desk with my left hand, I can start working on actually getting the fine motor control back. See, I used to be able to write left-handed quite easily, but ever since the stroke, I haven't been able to do that. So while I'm talking to you here, I'm literally working on the writing with the left hand. Now, it ain't great, but it starts somewhere. When I started writing when I was a kid, when I started learning to print, when you started learning to print, it took practice, it took work. Okay, so, and I've never been one to sit and do only one thing. So yeah, this becomes a little bit strange in one sense, but understand, the more you know about you and the more you know about what you're capable of, I always encourage people, or as close to always as I can get, which reminds me, I should actually take a look at that series of videos. The ones that I've marked language. Personally, I've identified nine different words, I think, in the spoken language that are self-deprecating. Now, if you look at my other videos, okay, you'll find a subset of them called language, where I go into information about why these words, how these words are detrimental. But I also give you the opportunity, and the options of words to use in exchange for them that I have found work extremely well in correcting the way your energy is running, in correcting the way your manifestation ability comes. Okay, which tells me exactly what I want on this shelf, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Where it comes to making things happen, you're the one going to have to be doing the work. It's just that easy. Okay, and we've talked, well, in this case, since I don't have my little pad here, this sheet is my list. Okay, and as you can see, and I don't expect you to read it, but as you can see, I've checked off a couple of things I've already done this morning. And I've got a whole pile of others I've got to work on. Okay, so from that standpoint, things are shifting gears quite nicely. And I will sort that out from here momentarily. But where it comes to your life, pick where I recommend is where, in order to get the big part of your life, which really has to, in a lot of ways, finances is something that affects everybody, no matter how much money you've got. Set an area up where you can work on your finances. Get the money in that area. Now, for instance, not that. Yeah, that's going to work well. What have we got here? This little shelf here, this little bin here. Okay, I've got a little bin here for loose change. These are the buckets I was talking about. Those same blue bins that are back there. I've got a smaller set of them up here. That one is the one that I put loose change that I find lying around. It'll eventually get moved into my cash box, into my petty cash. But right now, it's just sitting there as found money. And it'll get moved eventually. But pick a spot where you work on your finances and get that cleared so that everything can be tracked so you can figure out where you're going. Why track money? Because money doesn't care how you feel. You can be in the happiest mood and money will still do the same thing. You can be absolutely miserable and money will still do the same thing. It's just one of those things that you got to look at and go, that's the way it's going to be. Okay, yeah, I don't sit still well. You noticed. Anyway, get an area working that is running and that is clear so the energy around you can work properly. Working properly meaning there's no hiccups to it, the kinks are out of the way. It just does what it needs to. Which reminds me, I've got a neat little sweater up here that I've got to move. Remember that thing about procrastination? Well, as soon as I get done this, because I'm going to try and stay sitting down here, but these are all tools that I personally have used. Now the wood placard there has something written on it, but as you can tell, you can't see it. But what that placard says is, be true to yourself. One of the karmic laws. Meaning, do what feels right to you, providing it doesn't countermand the other karmic laws. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, and energy out, energy in. Okay, these three laws are all equally important. Okay, they're kind of like the three legs on a three-legged stool. Cut one short and the whole thing gets unbalanced. Okay, so take a look at that side of it. And start looking your finances to start with. Okay, your finances, once they're in order, I know I found, once my finances were in order, I found that my stress level collapsed, which is exactly what you're looking for. The less stress you have, the healthier you are, the more energy you have, the less time you spend sleeping trying to forget the world, or worse, drinking or doing drugs trying to get away from the world. Okay, once you've eliminated the stresses in your life, as in, like I mentioned before, figure out what you're not content with. Okay, and start eliminating those things. Now, in my case, I was not content with the state my office was in. This corner is now completed. Okay, well, I shouldn't say completed, but it's in really good shape. Okay, now, that said, the desk you see behind me over in the other side of the room, that one still has to be sorted out. Okay, although it's pretty much clear, there are parts of it that need to be worked through. Not the least of which is the missing ones. But I've started in this room, and it'll be one step at a time, and eventually I'll get the shelves up on top out of the way. Okay, I've got the shelving unit where I need it now, where I'm pointing here expecting you to see. Just take a look. I've got the pen pointing where I'm aiming at over my shoulder, in all fairness. But where you see those white figures, I've got a shelf over here now, and you can see just the edge of it right up near the top. But this is a shelving unit I'm talking about here. Okay, that shelving unit has room on it to put a lot of those spare figures, which means I can get them out of the way. I can get them organized where I desire them. And again, it gets the energy moving where I desire it. Now, if I had another set of bins, like another set of shelves, which are the old CD racks, work beautifully for it, then I would undoubtedly put them over there and keep them all together. Okay, which reminds me, I have to go and take a look and see if I can find those. But we'll have to do that a little later today. Anyway, success. How do you get there? Well, you get there by doing this. Number one, pick whatever it is that you're not content with. Make a list of the things that you're not content with and start eliminating them. Okay, start getting them out of your life. But now, when that was really poorly done, when we're talking about getting rid of them, things that you have total control over, like for instance, the state of my office, I've got total control over. Get on it, remove it one at a time. The ones that are controlled by other people, you can only control you. You can only control the way you respond to how other people behave. You cannot control how they behave. You cannot control how they're going to see what you do. You don't even have to worry, quite frankly, about whether or not they understand what you're doing. You have to understand what you're doing, and that's it. Okay, but to become successful in your own world, first of all, you have to have a purpose. Okay, recommended it's a self-development purpose, not I want to get the room cleaned up so that mom or dad are happy with it. But if you use that for a motivator to start with, hey, eventually you'll get to the point that you're happy with doing that yourself. And you'll start doing it because you desire it. There's no thing that goes, fake it till you make it. Okay, and what that means is that when you're striving to change something, use whatever crutches you require. Okay, in other words, if somebody's got a technique or a tool that may work for the time being, put it to work until you can get it straight in your own head and it's working properly for you. Okay, if you don't do that, what ends up happening, if you're trying to just make other people happy, what ends up happening is eventually you'll get bored with it. At least if the 80,000 clients I've had over the years in both business and home, if they're right, then you'll end up getting bored with it. You may be the exception. You may find that the only way you can get things done is by doing it for other people. And that's okay. But that's where that neat little sign that says, I am worth it, is handy. Okay, it'll help you get things organized from that end. Okay, now, geez, we use that word a lot. Probably should pause a little instead of saying a word, but I was raised to understand that video or radio, you don't leave dead air. It doesn't work all the time, but that's what we strive for. The purpose is, now you've got to have a reason to do something. Motivation that hits here. Not, some doctor telling you, you got to quit smoking because it's bad for your health, isn't, as it turns out, enough motivation. Okay, one person I know swapped out of smoking because it was financially too expensive for him to continue. So he found a way to quit, to cut back on his smoking, and eventually he'll end up quitting. Okay, now his method was kind of an odd one, in my opinion, because what ended up happening was he kept the addiction. He just found a cheaper way to do it, which, hey, he's happy with it. That's his life. Okay, at least he, the reality is, he had his addiction, he had his things he had to deal with, and he worked within the boundaries that I put in my own home, so it was no problem. Okay, now, once you've got a purpose in mind, put a plan together. Now, the plan is the easy part. That's where this funny little list, this funny little sheet of paper, come to think of that funny little sheet of paper should not have been used. Oh well, it is. There, that solves that problem. Get the other one out of the way. As it turned out, that was an envelope that is now not usable for an envelope. Technically, I could erase everything on it, but I find that doesn't always look as well. So, get a plan together. The plan is simple. Pick one thing that you're not content with in your life. Doesn't matter what it is. It may be where your coffee cup is sitting. Okay, change it. Doesn't matter what you change it to. If you change it to something you're not happy with, you can always change it to something else. Now, once you've got a plan in place and you know what your purpose is, not what the outcome is, just where you're starting. Okay, then you put the plan in place and you start working on it, and you make little tiny steps. You don't need great big humongous steps. Overall, I'm aiming at actually clearing my whole house out, getting rid of all the junk, everything. Okay, that's going to take me some time. But one step at a time and I'll get there. So one little step at a time. It requires persistence. Okay, persistence as in continue on with it. Now, my understanding is that the average time to break a habit or to make a habit is 21 days. Okay. Now, that's why it requires persistence. It does also require patience. Bear in mind, whatever your life is like right now, it has taken your entire life, all of your trials, all of your tribulations, all of your successes, combined to turn you into the person you are today. Okay, so where you started, how you got to where you are is not the issue. The fact that you're where you are right this moment is what matters. And it's from this point forward that we move forward. So how about we get a thumbs up for that? Okay, you're starting right now. This is literally the first day of the rest of your life. Okay, so give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and to our channel, because our long-term goal is to reach everybody on the planet, either direct or indirect, but to get people realizing that the more they work together, the stronger this planet becomes, the more comfortable, the more prosperous. All of these things are all interlinked. Okay, but it all starts with you. They say one man cannot change the world. Talk to a demolitions expert. Okay, trust me, one person can do an awful lot of good or an awful lot of damage depending on what they're after. But you have the ability to, starting with you and working with the people around you, you've got the ability to make this a better world. Okay, and subsequently reduce your own stress at the same time. Now, there are many people that will sit there and go, why do I have to worry about finances? I'm on government assistance. Well, in case you hadn't noticed, the government isn't exactly the best in the best at setting budgets up either. That's why they always run or often run in a deficit, meaning they're spending more money than they've got. Personally, I attribute that to the fact that they were taught, as are most of you, to budget your money. Well, budgeting only works if you have a definite amount of money. In case you hadn't figured out, the government doesn't have a guaranteed amount of money that comes in. They've got an estimated. But then, if you're one of the people that, like I was, that didn't file your income tax on a regular basis, the government basing their spending on that income doesn't work well. Okay, I mean they leave a lot of leeway, and you gotta give governments credit. They're trying to do a staggering job of trying to make everybody happy at the same time. And yes, many of them do turn around and make their friends happy first, but then so do you, in all likelihood. Okay, Lord knows, given my given options between making one person happy or another, I will help the people around me that are closest to me before I'll help somebody on the other side of the planet that I frankly never see. That's just the reality of it. Or for that matter, the other side of the city that I never see. Now, from your standpoint, your responsibility right now is to take a look at where your life is and go, okay, what am I not content with? And start removing those things. Okay, by doing that, you'll find your life gets a whole lot better, a whole lot faster. But it's going to take time, it's going to take effort on your part. Now, I will be back again tomorrow, okay? If you take a look at the bottom of the videos, you'll find a list of points where you can connect with me, okay? And drop me a line if you've got questions, if you've got a topic you'd like me to take a look at. Absolutely, drop me a line at any one of the contact points below. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, okay? And until tomorrow, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.